Hi, this is Richard Edelman, and you are listening to The Trust Makers. Hi, I'm Richard Edelman. I'm joined today by Tom Wilson, who's the CEO of Allstate. This summer, Allstate released the Trust Tipping Point, a new report that takes a close look at the state of trust in America. The research shows that while many people feel disconnected at a national level, there's a very strong sense of trust close to home, among neighbors, within schools, and across local communities. The Edelman Trust Barometer has found similarly that all trust actually is local. In fact, Tom has long argued that companies also should serve a greater purpose than profit alone. Under his leadership, Allstate has taken many steps in that direction, from raising its wage to exploring how AI can improve customer relationships, and now with this very important initiative with Aspen Institute to rebuild social trust through local communities in the U.S. Tom, welcome to Trust Makers. So Tom, Edelman's been studying trust for 25 years. You and I have had many discussions on the topic. You just released over the summer the Trust Tipping Point, a new report that takes a very close look at the state of trust in America. How does that relate to the business of Allstate?
I'm so appreciative you've been thinking about this for a long time. Trust is important to just all functioning societies. Like, you got to trust each other. And as a participant in that, it's important for us for society to work. Secondly, we look at it and we think, Allstate's role, we got to take care of our customers. We got to make money for our shareholders. We have to create opportunity for our team. But we also believe in improving communities. All four of those require trust. So we think it's important for society to work on trust. So that's why we're engaging it. And then lastly, that's what we sell. People give us their money because they trust when something happens, we'll be there for them. So a lowering tide lowers all boats. It's in our own best interest as a company to make sure people trust us.
So Tom, one of the big findings in the Trust Barometer over the last couple of years is that trust has moved local. Historically, it was top down, then it went peer to peer, and now it's local. In fact, in your own report, you see that trust is nearly 60% for next door neighbors, 53% for local communities. How can we harness this local trust?
Well, we're focused with the Aspen Institute, we're focused on two parts to improve trust. One is exactly what you talk about, improve local relationships. So right now we're trying to select between 13 communities. We want to go into 3 of those and figure out how can we build stronger local relationships. Because if you're just doing something like making sandwiches for a homeless shelter, or you're cleaning up a park, you're not going to spend a bunch of time thinking about why do you disagree with the person and why do you not trust them. You build that relationship on some commonality. So we think it's really important to get back into the communities and do that. And there's some really positive things happening. So I'm very excited about what's going on.
The Allstate research found a much higher level of trust for homeowners than renters. What's the connection between economic security and trust?
Well, economic security leads to anxiety. Anxiety leads to lack of trust, and it supports lack of trust. But I think it goes beyond just economics. There are a whole bunch of grievances that people have about America today, and those grievances show up as lack of trust. So we need to address the economic insecurity for sure. There's a whole bunch of things people want.
In the spring, Allstate and the Aspen Institute hosted a Trust and Practice Summit. You had 200 local and national leaders come together. So what were the big findings out of that?
First, I could say it was very energizing to be with people who care about the things you've been talking about for 25 years. I would say a couple things. First, trust is a real issue. It's not an ephemeral concept. Sometimes when you talk to people about trust, they don't really understand it as much as like economic well-being. Trust is a real issue. Secondly, we confirmed that it's worth working on it. Third, there's a whole bunch of people working on it. From the media, we had Jen White from A1 there helping us, people that are foundation leaders, nonprofits. There's a whole bunch of leaders. So the last thing I would say is there's a good base from which to build, but it's a heavy lift going from here because we're not at the tipping point of never getting back at trust, but we got to get moving on this.
And Tom, do you remember any of the individuals in that summit whose stories were really compelling, any town or city?
Well, there were a lot of great stories. One in particular I like it was this longest, I think it's called Longest Table. And they go into communities and they put tables up and people come out and bring stuff and they have a group dinner. And like, what a great way to start to build trust and build relationships, because over half the people don't even wave to their neighbors these days. 41% of people in America don't trust other people to do stuff. So, if you're out there and you're sitting, it's a sunny Sunday afternoon and you're having lunch with somebody. So there's been a lot of great local efforts, and they don't have to be contentious. They don't have to be about politics or economics. It's just, let's just be together. And I feel like in this world today, we can be so isolated because we're so digitally connected. And then that digital connections reinforces your isolation as opposed to expands the breadth of your network.
Actually, one of the stunning findings from our work in trust in the last year is the corporation is actually seen as a safe place to discuss difficult issues because somehow there's better behavior inside the four walls of the company. Do you see that at Allstate?
We work hard on it. We have all kinds of measures and training and facilitation to have us be able to do it. In fact, we have something called our shared purpose, which has our behaviors in it. And one of them is to collaborate. The other is constructive conflict. And we talk about that. So, if you can't discuss something, you're never going to get to a good answer. We need different opinions so that we can do what we need to do for our customers and our shareholders.
And Tom, you lead from the front. Some CEOs, manage and are distant. You are with your people and you're very clearly a public leader. Tell me about that model.
Some of that is my own belief. Some of that's just the way it's been successful for me. But I feel like first you have to be in the business rather than over the business, which means getting in, understanding what people are doing. Secondly, I was always taught by my parents that you have to have respect for other people, no matter who they are. And I love being around people. So I feel like getting in, respecting people helps you be a better leader. Leadership comes, you got to have good vision. You got to be able to have a resiliency. One of the arts of leadership that's really important is getting other people to willingly go someplace they wouldn't go by themselves. Not too hard to get people to go where they want to go, but to get them to willingly go someplace they wouldn't go. And that requires empathy. That requires people to respect you. And that means you got to be in and around your people and be in the business rather than over the business.
I read your interview in Semaphore, and you talk about the power of optimism. That's really a new area of thinking related to trust. Do you want to expand on that a bit?
Yeah. First, just Surgeon General warning. I'm always glass half, maybe 3/4 full. But I do feel like if you're optimistic, you're going to give yourself more opportunity to try new things. You're going to give yourself the opportunity to take more risks, to trust more people. And that leads to a greater, more fulfilling life. And I don't think it's about not being negative. I think it's about rebalancing the amount of positivity and negativity in your life and choose to lean in on the positive and don't ignore the negative. There would be blind trust, but it really give yourself more balance. And I feel like we just need more balance as a society. We've gone way too negative.
Tom, in fact, I think, as you know, in our chart, we have a x-axis that's competence, y-axis that's ethics. I think there's almost a z-axis, which is optimism, because, I remember in football practice, the guy said, you got to run X number of sprints. You got to believe you can do it.
Totally. Bear Bryant, you say you just got to believe. Lincoln talked about believing. If you don't believe, you're certainly not going to be successful. So, and there is this sense of dismay, some of which is appropriate. I don't think you want to be, so optimistic that you ignore reality. On the other hand, if you believe you're going to fail, you're probably not going to win.
So AI is coming with strength, and our trust research shows clearly that there's great degree of fear. In fact, I sort of term it as globalization 2.0. People see it as a job killer. How should business manage in a situation in which by 5-1 Americans think that AI is being badly implemented by business?
I don't think business is badly implementing AI, but I do think people should be concerned about AI taking away jobs because it's doing it right now. Every business I talk to, they're deploying AI and it's using fewer and fewer people. We need to focus on that. I think what businesses need to do is we need to step up and figure out how do we create more good jobs? And businesses don't really have that as a performance metric. I mean, businesses, we're supposed to serve our customers well. We're supposed to make money for our shareholders. But we don't really have a metric on how many good jobs did you create this year. And I don't think that's talked about enough in boardrooms. And I think if businesses don't do it, we're going to lose even more trust.
Tom, you've also been unique among CEOs I know in the United States on being very active in your community. You were the first to give money for education. Why do you do that?
I think, quite simply because I can. And I have an obligation as a leader. We believe at Allstate that businesses have 4 roles. You got to serve your customers, you got to make money for your shareholders, you got to create opportunity for your team, and you have to improve your communities. It's hard to do all 4 of those at once. You can't do them all at the same time because there's all kinds of conflicting priorities. That said, when you need to lean in, you need to lean in. So we focused on a few issues, and we lean in on those to try to make the community better because we think that's why we have a license to operate. Quit doing that and people will take the license away.
And if you were advising fellow CEOs about managing in a contentious political context, how do you play the game?
I would say focus, risk, and transparency. So focus. First, I would say, okay, look at all the issues in society and figure out what are the things that we really should weigh in on. We have something called the Societal Engagement Framework, and it starts with, does this help you do a better job for your customers? It's pretty simple. Do you know anything about it? It's also pretty simple. And can you make any change? And then you look at risk and return. So first I would focus. We looked at 100 issues that we came up with 2. Second, you got to take risk. Like these are hard jobs to get. They're hard jobs to keep. But if you're not taking risk and living into your obligation as a leader, you won't keep the job. And so I think it's really important to focus. I think it's important to think about risk. And then you just move forward and keep doing it and get your organization behind you and be transparent. So we've gone out to our shareholders and we said, hey, if these things happen, you should call us. If these things happen, don't call us because it doesn't help us do a better job for what we exist for.
So you're now in your 18th year as CEO. I'm in my 29th year. How do you keep your hustle, enthusiasm, and commitment to making this a great company every day?
I think it's curiosity, some luck, and then wanting to make a difference. I mean, I believe I really have an obligation to help the people and our customers do better. So, for example, we're very purpose-driven. One of the things I'm most proud of is we've had 75,000 Allstaters who we've helped them figure out what their personal purpose is. Not related to Allstate, just what's your personal purpose. And when I look back on the time I've been here, like that's one of the things I'm most proud of. They helped all these people figure out what they want to do in their lives.
Impressive. So, Tom, I consider you a fellow warrior in the pursuit of business as a force for good. It's the only institution both competent and ethical. Just as a sort of closing question, what is the role of business in the present context?
I think the role of business is to both serve our customers, make money for our shareholders, create opportunity for our team, and then improve communities. I think the first 2 are pretty obvious and most people do them well. I think this opportunity for employees and our teammates is going to be harder with AI. So you were talking about that earlier. I think that's a big lift for us. And then improving communities. And I think if we do that, then society rewards us with the freedom and the opportunity to use a lot of resources from society to do good. And I feel like that's what it's done a great job of throughout history. It's to your point out, it's one of the most successful organizational constructs known to man. It's more effective than government. And I'm not against government. Like I think government's got their own challenges, but businesses have the freedom and the resources to do tremendous amounts of good for society. And we've done that. And I think we have to keep doing it. I think it's harder today because of the political climate, but that just takes resiliency.
So this is Richard Edelman with a chapter of Trust Makers and thanking Tom Wilson, whom I consider to be one of the great CEOs in the United States. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate our friendship. I love our friendship.
Thank you for tuning into the Trust Makers, an Edelman podcast in partnership with Advertising Week, where we speak with leaders and other trust builders across institutions. See you next time.